So we'll go live on Facebook. And today I'm going to share about the Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Ashram in Tiruvannamalai. So friends, we're going live on Facebook for this. And also I'll be sharing this on YouTube. So friends, I've been traveling, as most of you would know, that I've been traveling to different parts of India, to especially some of the energy places, like uh, so many of them. And most of you are familiar with places like Banaras, the Himalayas, Rishikesh, which are famous for spiritual reasons. But one of the places which I really find dear and which is very powerful is Tiruvannamalai in South India. It's just 2-3 hours from Chennai. And it is very famous for the Ramana Maharshi Ashram. So if you're exposed to the works of Ramana Maharshi or even the other saints like Nisargadatta or Osho, you might have heard of Tiruvannamalai. So Tiruvannamalai, of course, as I said, it's famous for the Ramana Maharshi Ashram in today's day and age. It's, of course, always eternally known for the great Arunachala mountain, the mountain of fire, which is a divine experience. So I won't get into Arunachala and Ramana because I think it's a much spoken about topic. But just for my friends to know a little bit about this lesser known place called as Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Ashram. Who was Yogi Ram Surat Kumar? He was a man from North India who was a saint, who was a sadhu, who was a yogi in the true sense of the word. Because the calling for God became so much for him, he left everything and he moved towards Tiruvannamalai after a lot of journey, which you will find in his autobiography. What I like to share is about this place, how I felt there, and because I have a lot of like-minded and like-hearted friends who might want to visit this kind of place. So somehow I ended up at this place. I knew very little about Yogi Ram Surat Kumara himself. And I just ended up there on an afternoon. And one thing which most people will be taken aback if they're not exposed much to the traditional Indian spirituality, if they've been listening to Osho or if they've been into yoga, then they'll be very surprised to see that, everyone is uttering the name of this man, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, just sitting and chanting, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, Jaya Guru Raya. So that's the jam, which goes on and on unending loop. And why they're chanting this name, some people think maybe he's a narcissist, he made all his disciples chant the name. But that was not the case. Of course, when you get into deeper dynamics, you realize that first impressions are very shallow. First impressions are very unrevealing of the deeper esoteric mysteries that such places hold. So I had the good fortune of being there, witnessing everything, spending lots of time over there, and also meeting Ma Devaki, who is a disciple of, who was one of the closest disciples of Yogi Ram Surat Kumar and is taking his word forward, is taking his message forward in today's day and age. So my first experience was Ma Devaki I'd like to share because it was very interesting, profound, deep, sweet, and at the same time intimate, but not, not like this loud screaming thing, but it was just like an inner, these experiences which stay in your heart. And the first thing Ma Devaki asked me was, is your idea of God personal or impersonal? And I had no answer to this question. I said, I just meditate. Because at that time, I was not into any other stuff. So what I realize now is that the reason she asked me that was she was trying to gauge whether I'm a bhakti person or I'm an Advaita person. And bhakti is the path where you create a personal connection with the higher reality. And Advaita is where you know that everything is the higher reality and you try to get into that understanding. It's more like a jnana yoga, being a jnani, as Ramana Maharshi says. And I had a lot of conversation about myself, about my journey, about understanding this path of nama sadhana, of repeating a mantra, repeating a nama. But nama is not just a mantra jap in a technical sense, which has a lot of rules. Nama doesn't have any rules. Nama is unbounded. Nama is for the awliyas. Nama is for the ones who are completely unbounded in their love for God. And it's a path of freedom. So there's no rule for chanting Nama. You can chant it anywhere. You can chant it in your bedroom, bathroom, anywhere. And there's a beautiful story which Mahadevji recited to me about an Indian mystic. He was always chanting the Nama. He was always chanting the name of God. Whatever that name be, it doesn't matter. Eventually, all the paths merge. That is what I've come to realize. Even though there's so much conflict and debate when the immature disciples meet, but generally all the paths eventually they merge, whether it's bhakti, chanting, yoga, meditation, everything. But coming to the story, this man used to chant all the time. Once somebody noticed that while passing his tools, while answering nature's call, also he was chanting. So this person goes and complains to the community and says that, see, this guy is doing a blasphemy. He's chanting while he's shitting. And everyone comes and warns him that you're not going to do this again and you're not going to chant again. He said, okay, fine, I stop chanting altogether. And when he does that, they start hearing all the surroundings, everything in the surroundings, reverberating loudly with the name of God, with the chanting. Because this chanting, it's not just a manual recitation as most people understand it, because people like to understand things in a very superficial, easy way with what meets the eye. But chanting is actually not religious recitation. It's actually, when you do it in a deeper spiritual sense, it goes deep down inside you. And it becomes a reverberation in your throat chakra. As it goes deeper, it becomes a reverberation in your heart chakra. And then it goes deep down into your belly. And the mystics always say, go down to the belly with your breath, with your sound, go down into the belly. And that's where you will find the centering, you will find the pivot for experiencing divine consciousness. Now, a lot of these conversations came when I was speaking to Mahadevji. One of the very interesting and beautiful experiences is the evening kirtan at Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Ashram. This is something you shouldn't miss. It's somewhere around 6:30. It goes on till 8 o'clock and they go on chanting. People gather together and they go on chanting consistently the name Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. And as I said, for me, this place has always been about, it's a place where I feel very comfortable actually, and feel love, feel just comfort, very unexpected. But I just feel comfortable there. And it's not like I'm part of the organization or anything, but I just feel comfortable. Whereas in a place like Ramana Ashram, you want to sit, you want to feel the presence and immerse into it. But in Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, as you're doing things, the nama is reverberating and remembrance is happening. You can see the Samadhi temple where his remains are there. You can see some of the murtis established by himself. You can see the bed and his belongings in the backside of the temple. There's a Gaushala. There are a lot of cows. You will see a school over there. You will see a school where the Vedas are taught, a Veda Pathshala. There's a lot of beautiful work going on in this place under the guidance of Mahadevji. There's a beautiful path for walking around the ashram, the Dakshina. It's beautiful. You can see it in my background, the building. There's a meditation hall also. Now, it's not a big ashram. It's not a big, and what do you say? It's not like a stadium or a hotel. Like if you go to, let's say, Isha Ashram, or if you go to Sri Sri Ashram, you will see that it's massive, it's huge, it's a big affair. But the grandeur of Yogi Ram Surat Kumar's ashram is in its simplicity. And that's what this man was, a fakir. I remember a friend of mine telling me that Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, I just gave him a cigarette and he was walking around. He called himself a beggar and he lived like that. He just lived, a very austere life, just walking on the streets. There's a place called Bhupati Tea Stall in Tiruvannamalai in the town on the Car Street. So if you go there, you will see. So I'm giving you very important information, which I found over a course of time, but I'm just giving it to you in one video in the hope that some of you will be able to go there and experience these places. Bhupati Tea Stall is where Ram Surat Kumar Ram Surat Kumar ji spent time drinking tea and all of that. And it's a very rustic place. You really like it. They make dosas. There are old benches and there is tea. There's a cup of tea. I love these places. And the ashram of Yogi Ram Surat Kumar. And there's also an old house where Yogi Ram Surat Kumar ji spent a lot of his time. And that is again near Bhupati's tea stall. It's near the Arunachala big temple. So yeah, if you're going to Tiruvannamalai, definitely check out this place. Check out his house. You will see stacks of his Charminar cigarettes. He used to smoke Charminar cigarettes. And Charminar is a wonderful cigarette without a filter, which was, it was something which doesn't exist now because probably it stopped manufacturing. But somehow I always felt the presence of Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, and somehow in Guwahati recently, I found Charminar cigarettes. I just saw the pack somewhere and I was reminded of Yogi Ram Surat Kumarji. And there are these beautiful ways in which the objects associated with a spiritual master also become means of remembrance. And that is the beauty of bhakti when you're on this path of bhakti. Now, a lot of people will ask, why was he smoking? If he's spiritual, yogis should not smoke. And for them, the answer is that for gold to be molded into jewelry, it needs to have some impurity. It cannot be 100% pure gold, right? Whatever carat system they have, 24 carat or whatever, it cannot be completely pure gold. Some impurity has to be introduced in order to make it moldable, in order to make it useful. In the same way, these spiritual masters, when they attain a high level of purity, like Yogi Ram Surat Kumar, for 9 years, he lived just on 5 years or 9 years. He just lived on fruits and milk, raw milk, nothing else. He did not eat anything else. On Navratris, he used to fast on end. So the smoking and other idiosyncrasies which you see associated with these masters and which become part of daily lives because they have to maintain some kind of impurity to stay grounded and operate in the world. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to meet people who have so much of baggages and so much of, worldly pains. It becomes difficult to meet these kind of people. So that is the reason why Yogi Ram Surat Kumar will light a cigarette when someone comes up. And that's why he would smoke. So that's the reason. And most of us don't understand these things and we start judging very immediately. Not all of us, but some of us. So anyway, I think I've given you some useful information. Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Ashram. If you get there around 12:30 in the afternoon, you can avail the beautiful prasad. The wonderful food is served, South Indian food. It is curd rice, some form of rice, and then vegetable and banana or something like that. It's very nice. It's very sweet, served with a lot of love, and it's wonderful to eat there. It's free, of course. Prasadam is free in all the temples. But I'm mentioning these things because some of my viewers are also Westerners, so they might not have an idea that food is given for free in the temples. And also, my friends, if you're spending time here, meditating, chanting, it's really a beautiful place. It's a well-maintained place. I'm mentioning this again because some people have an habit of rating even ashrams and temples as 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 5 star. It doesn't matter. But still, I need to mention so that some of you feel more comfortable to visit this place. And I remember one rainy day, we were just spending 2, 3 hours inside the ashram, and then I went out. They were giving, containers with food with the prasad, and there was no place to eat. So we just sat on the steps of the school outside, and we were relishing the prasad. And what an energy, the divine energy gets transmitted even into the food, the vibrations. And these are all things which are tangible, which are real, but we experience them more profoundly. We experience them with greater intensity because our mind is more one-pointed, it is more invested, and it is more open when we visit these places. So definitely Yogi Ram Surat Kumar Ashram, if you're in the south of the country, if you're going to Tiruvannamalai, it's a magical place. And I highly recommend this place to get an understanding of the Nama Sadhana. Nama Sadhana created Kabir Das, Nama Sadhana created Meera, Nama Sadhana created Gandolekar Maharaj, Sai Baba, and thousands of saints. Statistically, if you see, most of the spiritual masters in India, they have attained through Nama Sadhana. Of course, nowadays there's a fad, to wear yoga pants and do all kinds of postures which are good for health. But remember that Nama Sadhana is what has helped a lot of masters to attain to their peak. Nisargadatta Maharaj. Nowadays, everyone carries the Nisargadatta Maharaj and they say, oh, this is a book about Advaita. And they don't realize that Nisargadatta Maharaj has attained his peak through Nama Sadhana by repeating the name given by his guru. And I was in Tiruvannamalai once. I was eating somewhere, and there were women who were discussing Nisargadatta, and it was a Western woman, maybe 25-year-old or something like that. So she was discussing about Nisargadatta, Advaita, and the perspective of Advaita by Nisargadatta is in this way and that way. And in my mind, I thought to myself, that this woman has no idea that Nisargadatta gained all his wisdom by becoming empty through his purification in the Nama Sadhana. And she's looking for everything in the books of Nisargadatta, which is just the revelation, the wisdom which came after he became pure, after he became connected with the divine through the sadhana of Nama Jap. So my friend, check out these things. It will help you a lot on your spiritual path, whether you're just beginning, whether you're intermediate, whether you're advanced. I'm certain it will help you. And that's the reason I'm inspired to share this with you. I'll be sharing about many more places. So stay tuned and hope to see you there. Cheers.